Shun ka ho pelo yo hey ho la ko ta ho chi la o ta pe shun ka ho pelo. Previously, I talked about the early ages of my boarding school days, and as I got older and continued that journey, it got better for me in that experience. And 12 years of boarding school experience, I made it to be a good experience instead of bad later on, because I could speak up, I could talk, and and would really express my views of what's happening to me in a boarding school. And as I got older in there, people became important to me, and the friends that I made became important to me. And I have different brothers to the Hunka, at different reservations, because the boarding school that I went to in high school, they were from different reservations, not only Lakota reservations, but also other tribes. And we got to share a lot of things there about our way of life and how there are some differences that we talk about and speak the language that we know and they know, and learn words from them and so forth. And I thought that was pretty neat, because I know a lot of words from other tribes now, and I don't use it as much, or sometimes I just say them over again to just know that I know this word, and really looked at how their tribe is compared to mine, and that was kind of the focus after a while. And then academics was always big for me in my school days. And I think that was from my early experiences I expressed earlier, in how to be the best in whatever I do. And at Marty Mission, where I went to high school, they always asked me, how'd you end up here? You were far from home. And I said, well, when I was at St. Joseph Indian School, I always made my mind I was going to come to school here. And so that was the kind of understanding we had. And as I was being there longer, I really, really tried hard, and might think I'm bragging this time, but I'm not. I just kind of feel real good about what I achieved in basketball. And when I go back there, and guys are from there, well, here comes the legend and stuff like that, and they all laugh, and I was able to be called that because of basketball. And also academics. One of the things was that I would be the only male students there in the high school that would be on the A honor roll, and there'd be the females outnumbered me, and we have a word we say, "wah," when you're challenged, and they always say that to me, "wah," and so I try really hard in academics and try to excel in that area, and they didn't have the word nerd back in the day, but they had another word, and I used to be called that. I'm not going to say at this interview. As I came along to that and left Marty, that was always on my heart, because there I found my spiritual life. There, because there's some nuns, they call them the Oblate Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, and they really influenced my life. And still today, there's only 3 left of all that I knew. There used to be over 30. And that's where I'm pastoring now as a deacon in the church. And I'm able to use my language and used to use my experiences and all the things there at the boarding school and share it. And that really makes me feel good. And the boarding school years, some places I didn't like, some places I really enjoyed, and I think enjoyment outnumbered the dislikes. And so, and as I went along, I stayed in touch with a lot of students. And I left there because of my mother. All my brothers and sisters graduated from Cheyenne Eagle Butte, and she was after me. And so my senior year, I went back there and graduated from Cheyenne Eagle Butte, and my mom was ecstatic about that. So I went on her feeling, not mine, and that part of it. And in the boarding school, one of the things you do is that you establish friendships that are beyond friendships. You just share everything, anything, with the people that you trust. There was 5 female students in my freshman year. I must have looked lost, must have looked lonesome and everything. And these 5, as a freshman, and they were juniors, they came and they would, give me snacks. They would talk to me. And we had a place called Slab Time, where the brothers and sisters and relatives meet, or friends meet in front of the girls' dorm. It's a big slab of cement there. And during wintertime, it goes inside. But at that time, they call it Slab Time. And believe it or not, I was really shy when I was in my younger years. And so I didn't like to be in crowds, so I avoided that slab time. And every once in a while, those 5 girls would talk me into coming over. And I knew that I would get snacks, so I said, okay, I'll come. And that friendship still goes on today with those 5. And I couldn't consider them as sisters, my Hunka sisters. The reunions, we used to really have fun, but don't meet with them too often today. We're all getting older, and traveling kind of gets a little harder. But one of the things that they said to me when I was growing up is that you're always on the honor roll. You always look at trying hard in everything you do, like in basketball, football, track. And because, I set some records in track. Won some honors in basketball. Football was just kind of was a side sport for me. And the last couple of years I attended, we went undefeated in football, beating the #1 team in the state, or tying them, and accomplishing something like that just kept me going. But the dorms itself was the other students. Not so much the prefects or anything like that, but the students, and how we interacted with one another. I think what made it so unique at Marty was that we was from all different tribes, and shared with each other our home tribes and what we do, what they see their tribe as, what I see my tribe as. And there's a few from Pine Ridge I became close to, and they're still my friends today. A couple of my Hunka brothers from over there are gone now, they passed. Dreaded disease of cancer. But those type of things afterwards really, really shaped my life after I met Geraldine, and one day I asked her to marry me, and I think I took her by surprise. She was speechless. But getting back to the dorms, you know, they shaped my life. So in 1973, Dr. Howe, who's a real member of the Oglala Sioux tribe, who was a professor at Black Hills State University, was calling the reservations and asking for people to come to a meeting he set together there. So 33 of us showed up from the different reservations and not knowing what to expect. And so he outlined what he'd like to see. From that 1973 meeting, we met till 1989. And all the 7 council fires came to the meeting. And I'd like to say here publicly for the first time that from all that information for all those years, Albert Whitehead's book was born from that. And so I think that's probably the best for me as a Lakota speaker and so forth to study from. And so there's some other ones come up, but I still see that as the best because it comes from the Lakota way of thinking. And so it's easy to understand if you're a speaker. And it's not a book for non-speakers as it is for speakers, because in there is so much information that I probably missed while I was growing up that I learned in there, and just reading it and studying it. And of course, he's my uncle, Lekshi, so I have a lot of access to him, and he taught me a lot. And I'd like to share this part with him is that the last month of his life, I got to spend with him. I stayed at his house. You know, we just ate and breathed Lakota during that time, and it really set me back to all the things I grew up with. And the language itself began within the family, and everybody spoke Lakota when I was growing up. And so I'm one of the fortunate ones that spoke until I started school. And now I want to become proficient in English, so I study that hard. I have a real vast vocabulary of all kind of words, and I'm proud of that too. But the language of the Lakota has been in me since I was born, I think, all the way up to now. And so my thinking, the non-linear and linear type of thinkers are Lakota. When I switch over, I kind of have to think about it. Like I'm talking Lakota all the time with like maybe Richard or my wife Geraldine or my family. And in that mode, and then start speaking English, I have to kind of go over to the non-linear side of the language. And so the language, I know that Richard, my wife's family and Richard and different ones that came here is such a big, big part of us that we'll never ever lose it. And the only time we'll stop is when our time comes. But during our time, we want to influence it so much. And part of it is that my wife and Richard's sister, Stephanie, and how she just lived it. She'd come back from work. She was, for the tribe, the head person for the language, culture, and history. And she'll come back frustrated sometimes and able to bounce it off of us, I think, which was really good. And she was quite educated, and so she was respected for that. And so people listened, that she spoke to that in no language. She went up in Canada there's speakers up there because of, well, after Little Bighorn, some fled up there, and some started reservations up there, and they speak the language. And so when Richard was talking about relationships, it brought so much memories back. Just shaking my head back there and say, yeah. Remember my grandma, my grandpa, all the interactions during the growing up with the language. And my grandmother, who raised my mother, because my mother lost her mother when she was very young, 9 years old, and she ended up in the dorms until she graduated high school. She didn't go home. She stayed there year-round. And so when my mom's mother passed away, we couldn't make it over there. And her sister that raised my mother, when she passed, we was all able to go and be part of that and share my mother's grief with her at that time. But my dad, my last name, you could tell, I'm a Condon. I'm part Irish. But I consider myself full Lakota in my way of life. And so his dad came over from Ireland. Somehow he ended up in Phillips, South Dakota. And he did some work for some ranchers on the reservation. Met my grandmother, married her. And so by the time he passed away, he's mastered the language. So all of his kids spoke Lakota and passed on to us. And we pass it on to our children. And so when people start saying we're losing our language, there's a whole bunch of us that still speak it. They just focus on those who don't speak. And they don't focus on the ones who speak. And if they do that, I think they'll let go of we're losing the language because of this thing. I'd like to speak Lakota a little bit right now to really express, and those speakers who see this will really understand what I just said in English. Matubita ya Lakota ki na huau. When I walk like a la ko like na it's a wau. When it do zap and wahuni when I will block the hitcher. So it's a mime yeah. Dagnu maka kapsni ema bachbam. So dokis la kolia womaka kap the kechami. You can hitchumsni. Wasicho womaka kap chata dagni. You blues parkish. So when I la kolia takun Slova chinshna yeah. Unkawa kamina Ochaka kachanshna wancha amapha. Dakwe amapha iblukcha. As ija wogla kam chanshna la kolia wogla kam become la koagla ke chanshna amapha. So what doctor achami the chamis. So okay Chim imoga takwa mapha. Chila kowa like it is hete. As wasicho mama specially pray. Cheta limit in her. Taku yap chas na khamakanas na khe. Pret heads or una wasicha walk like a waki. Yeah, fifth grade, wasicha, fifth grade, one honey. And like this, wasicha walk like. So, la call up there, yerta wala. Doini, makiktis. Na, hini, a peti ohila, niwa urkila, wapatin dikte. Na, ja, wat kan je op de hartje wat zie? Ja, ons bij wakatia, lusta. Tell her, ons bij chakya, we are hitcher. Na, is a call up again, or spirit chakya. So, na huxila chakya na go. Ja, is a hitcher. Ja, voilà. Tu vois, mais il y a la con la cabèche. Ok, voici. Tu vois, mais we chabla haka. As when numla niuk. Ja, as een techi. As Jolene is ja, 2 uitgetrokken. Ja, ook daarnaast die nieuwte. Heel genaas. Naast die lakkoa, in de dakuke. Spemmerkapsa. Richard, Juanito. She, where Oshija were same age. Lila Yupia la cold like. I don't get to walk like you do. It's not la cold, la cold like. Now, 73 down, 89, who I'm here. Hell, wagla kiktahat la kolia wagla kiktahat. Ja, hoe him na halila la kolia wagla kapchim. As inational wasichi ab chasna yotak vichashim. Chasna yotak. You can inational yotak vichashim ya you ha lehan la kolia wagla kap. As wagla kachasna. If that didn't happen to me, I probably won't be speaking Lakota today at Chumakaka. So that was a good thing at Chumakaka. I killed Lakota. Yeah. 89, when I Okigalus number 99, we was going to finish now our meetings. We met, believe it or not, once a month for all those years. Hardly anybody missed those meetings. We always got new people to come. And there's some that belong to this group we call the Lakota Language Consortium. And they came in and they were trying to teach us our language. And so a lot of us stood up against it. We have our own that we teach. And so there's kind of a friction there they cause. And with that, this language, as Richard says, is wakha. La kola pigile wakana yotanlam na hogna wogla kapchasna taku shichu in a chabe. Hogna kamnasna. Yeah. Taku hastasna hina wogla. So anyway, as said in English, English Lakota is that all of us really stand there because this group called Lakota Language Consortium try to come in and teach us to teach Lakota, and we already know and already have our curriculum and everything that we teach from. And so it kind of causes a friction. But we stick to what we developed on our own, because our Lakota language was never written language. And I think the missionaries came and began to write our language, and that's when the written part of it came out. Because I read a lot of, in my research, letters written home from these Christian schools, written Lakota, and that's the Seven Council Fires way of writing, and so that's what we stand by in this language. And so '89, when we turned all the documents over to St. Nicholas University, again I'll repeat again, Albert Whitehead's Lakota language book was born from that. He read through it, and a lot of things that he grew up with is all in there. And so after he wrote it, it was published, and St. Nicholas wanted some rights to it, so they negotiated out, and St. Nicholas said they'll promote that book from there on. So just recently is when the writings of our language started. And so we read it and learn it and keep going with that. And so now we have a written language that we're refining. And I'm really, really glad that New Hope took this on to record us, to really have us, voice our opinions. Lakotachchi, and I mean the true Indians of our tribe, which we call ourselves Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota. All the language is the same. We understand each other. Just the dialect is different. And so now, in 1978 or 79, the native language legislation was passed in Washington, D.C., and that's where the bilingual, bicultural program began, because that's what they call the funding that they gave to us. So I'd like to share that much as far as the language and the dormitory way of life. And today, I think, at the beginning I wasn't, but today I think I'm thankful that I did have that boarding school experience at a place where different tribes attend the schools. So that has helped me in my life, and looking at other tribes in a good way, especially the Crow. That's a joke. But that's what I guess I have to say. And I'd like to thank you very much. Hapilama, Chantewa Stea, Lewa Gakelo, Au, Bitakias.